Picture this. It's a scorching July morning in 1410, and you're standing on a grass field in northern Poland. The air is thick with tension, the ground trembling beneath thousands of hooves. Two massive armies are about to clash in what will become one of the most brutal battles medieval Europe has ever witnessed. And here is the twist. The outcome hinges on a retreat that might just be the most brilliant tactical move in military history. Stay with me, because what unfolds is absolutely mind-blowing. Now, let me set the scene properly. It's the 15th of July, and the summer heat is already unbearable. On one side, you've got the mighty Teutonic Order, essentially medieval, Europe's most feared military force, commanded by their Grand Master Ulrich von Junjingen. These weren't just any soldiers, mind you. These were battle-hardened crusaders who'd traveled from all corners of Europe, itching for a fight. Ulrich had assembled roughly 27,000 warriors, and he was confident they'd crush anyone foolish enough to challenge them. On the other side, well, that's where things get interesting. The Polish and Lithuanian forces had joined together under two brilliant commanders, King Władysław, the second Jagiełło of Poland, and Grand Duke Vytautas, the Great of Lithuania. They'd managed to scrape together about 39,000 soldiers, a mix of knights, mercenaries, vassals, and allies. Here's the clever bit, though. Whilst the Teutonic forces stood exposed in the blazing sun, cooking in their armor like tin sardines, the Polish-Lithuanian forces were tucked away in the shade of a heavily forested area. Smart move, right? Let me paint you a picture of how these armies were arranged, because it is crucial to understanding what happens next. Ulrich wasn't a fool. He placed his absolute best warriors, his elite mounted knights, on his left flank. These men were the cream of the crop, veterans of countless battles across Europe. Behind them, he positioned crossbowmen, infantry, and heavy cannons, medieval artillery, people. On his right flank, he stationed lighter cavalry, less experienced but still formidable, backed up by infantry. And Ulrich himself, he stayed at the rear with a substantial force of knights, overseeing everything from the Teutonic camp like a chess grandmaster surveying the board. Now, the Polish-Lithuanian setup was equally strategic. The Polish forces held the left flank, primarily heavy Polish knights, the kind of warriors who could punch through a stone wall if they had to. Supporting them from behind were lighter cavalry and infantry. The Lithuanian forces took the right flank, fielding mainly light cavalry, including some Tatar mercenaries and Moldavian infantry. And right there in the center, Czech mercenary infantry. Holding the line together. It was a diverse coalition, but that diversity would prove to be either their greatest strength or their fatal weakness. So how does this bloodbath actually kick off? Well, the Teutonic forces make the first move. Their cannons roll forward, and their skirmishers advance. The cannons roar, sending shots towards the Polish-Lithuanian lines. But here's the thing, they're completely out of range. The cannonballs fall harmlessly short, barely making a dent in anyone's day. Embarrassing, honestly. But even though the shots were useless, they achieved something. The Lithuanian forces, perhaps thinking they couldn't let this challenge go unanswered, decide to advance. Duke Vytautas himself leads the charge, and his cavalry begins thundering across the field. Now, this is exactly what Ulrich wanted. He'd just successfully baited them into attacking on his terms. Brilliant. Right. The Teutonic crossbowmen immediately begin loosing bolts at the approaching Lithuanian cavalry. Before they can reload for a second volley, though, the Lithuanians are already on top of them. The sheer momentum of that cavalry charge is devastating. Horses and riders slam into the Teutonic lines with bone-crushing force, and suddenly, the supposedly unbreakable Teutonic formation starts giving ground. The first clash goes to the Polish-Lithuanian Union, and you can almost feel the confidence surging through their ranks. The second wave of Lithuanian cavalry charges forward, sensing victory. Czech mercenaries follow close behind, ready to capitalize on their numerical advantage. But here's where things start to go sideways, despite having more soldiers. The lighter Lithuanian cavalry simply coup and match the raw power and experience of those heavily armored Teutonic Knights. It's like watching a flyweight boxer try to go toe-to-toe with a heavyweight champion. The Lithuanians throw everything they've got at the Teutonic lines, but they're hitting a brick wall. Slowly, Inevitably, they're being pushed back. The battle reaches a grinding stalemate on that flank. Meanwhile, and this is happening simultaneously, remember on the opposite end of the battlefield, the Polish heavy cavalry launches their own charge towards the Teutonic right flank and center. The ground shakes as these armored behemoths pick up speed. The Teutonic reserve infantry, seeing their comrades about to be overwhelmed, rush forward from the rear to support them. And now, it's absolute chaos. Thousands of men locked in brutal, exhausting combat under the merciless summer sun. Hours pass. Can you imagine fighting in full armor for hours in July heat? The Lithuanian soldiers, lighter and less experienced, are struggling desperately against the superior Teutonic Knights. You can almost see it happen in shields splintering, weapons breaking, men falling. The discipline and training of the Teutonic Order is showing its worth. Morale among the Lithuanian troops begins to crumble like a poorly built sandcastle. And then it happens. The Lithuanian flank breaks. En masse, they turn and flee the battlefield, streaming away from the fight. The Teutonic Knights, sensing complete victory, give chase like wolves pursuing wounded deer. This is the moment every commander dreams of your enemy rooting. Their backs exposed, victory seemingly assured. Ulrich seizes the opportunity immediately. With the Lithuanian forces scattered to the winds, he redirects his warriors to hammer the no-exposed right side of the Polish left flank. The Polish forces, suddenly vulnerable, are facing disaster. If they collapse now, the entire army will be rolled up and destroyed. This is it. This is the moment the battle ends. Potentially the war will be decided. But fortune favors the bold. The Czech commanders, demonstrating remarkable leadership under pressure, managed to halt their men from joining the Lithuanian retreat. Instead of fleeing, they reorganized rapidly and rushed to cover that dangerously exposed Polish flank. It's a heroic moment, the kind that changes the course of history. Ulrich, watching from his vantage point, notices that the Polish and Czech forces are now fully committed. Their lines are stretched thin, like butter scraped over too much bread. This is his chance. He gathers his personal guard, the best of the best, along with every reserve he can muster, and plans to attack the exposed rear of the Polish forces. It's a killing blow, designed to end this battle once and for all. Ulrich aims his cavalry towards his left wing, preparing to outflank the Polish-Czech position. A portion of Ulrich's guard breaks away and charges directly at King Władysław himself. If they can kill the king, the entire Polish army will collapse in panic. It's a bold, desperate gambit. Within moments, the Teutonic Knights have completely surrounded and engulfed the Polish right wing. They're enveloped, trapped, with no apparent way out. It's only a matter of time before they break. And when they do, the rest of the Polish army will follow like dominoes. And then, ... Pause for a moment, because what happens next is absolutely extraordinary. A massive force of cavalry appears seemingly out of nowhere, thundering onto the battlefield. It's the Lithuanians. The same Lithuanian cavalry that had fled hours earlier. But now they're back, and they've brought reinforcements. Whether this was a planned feint, a tactical retreat designed to lure the Teutonic forces into overextending, or whether TD simply rallied and returned with fresh troops, nobody knows for certain even today. But the timing, absolutely perfect. Devastatingly perfect. The Teutonic forces have committed everything. They're fully engaged, spread out, with no reserves left to counter this surprise attack. They're sitting ducks. The Lithuanian cavalry crashes into Ulrich's forces positioned on the left wing with the fury of a tidal wave. The Teutonic Knights, who moments ago thought they'd won, are now completely surrounded and enveloped. In the chaos and confusion of this surprise attack, Grandmaster Ulrich von Jungen himself is struck down and killed. The commander is dead. Panic ripples through the Teutonic ranks, like wildfire. Without their leader, without reserves, surrounded on all sides, the supposedly invincible Teutonic Order begins to break. Knights who'd never fled a battle in their lives turn and run. The retreat becomes a rout. The hunters have become the hunted. The Polish-Lithuanian forces, energized by this dramatic reversal of fortune, press their advantage mercilessly. The Teutonic forces are driven from the battlefield, leaving behind thousands of dead and dying men. The grass fields that had baked under the summer sun are now soaked with blood. It's a complete and utter victory for the Polish-Lithuanian Union. Nobody Recorded exact casualty figures record keeping was not exactly a priority when you were neck deep in medieval combat, but contemporary accounts agree that thousands perished on both sides, with the Teutonic Order bearing the brunt of the losses. It was one of the bloodiest single-day battles of the medieval period. After the battle, the Polish and Lithuanian leadership allowed their exhausted soldiers to rest. These men had fought for hours in brutal conditions. Aid earned it. Once rested, the combined forces marched on Marienburg, the capital city of the Teutonic Order. If they could capture they'd essentially decapitate the entire organization. But Marienburg's defenses proved too strong. The castle walls held firm against the Polish-Lithuanian assault, and the siege ultimately failed. However, numerous other Teutonic towns and cities, seeing which way the wind was blowing, surrendered without a fight. The Teutonic Order's aura of invincibility had been shattered at Grunwald, and everyone knew it. Here's where things get a bit messy, though. A large portion of the Polish-Lithuanian army, exhausted and eager to return home, disbanded and headed back to their families. The Teutonic Order, despite their devastating defeat, seized this opportunity to retake some of the surrendered towns. They weren't finished yet. But any hopes of recovery were crushed a few months later when they suffered another heavy defeat at the Battle of Grunwald. Finally, both sides agreed to the Peace of Thorn, bringing this bloody chapter to a close. So what made this battle so significant? Why does it matter? 6 centuries later, the Battle of Grunwald fundamentally shifted the balance of power in Eastern Europe. The Teutonic Order, once the dominant military force in the region, never fully recovered. Their reputation was shattered, their resources depleted, their leadership dead. Meanwhile, the Polish-Lithuanian Union emerged as a major European power, a position they'd maintained for centuries. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect is that mysterious Lithuanian retreat. Was it a brilliant tactical feint? A planned maneuver to draw the Teutonic forces out of position? Or was it a genuine rout that, through either luck or quick thinking, transformed into a war-winning? Historians still debate this question, and will probably never know for certain. What we do know is that the timing of their return was absolutely perfect, almost too perfect to be coincidence. The battle demonstrated that numerical superiority, when properly commanded and coordinated, could overcome even the most experienced and well-equipped professional army. It showed the importance of coalition warfare and the strength of unified command, and it proved that battles aren't over until they're truly over. Fortune can shift in an instant. A battle that seemed lost, then won, then lost again, before a dramatic final reversal delivered victory from the jaws of defeat.